I don't tell people they're going to go to hell. I don't tell people that's God's business. You don't know where people are in life. Yet my sister walks in and delivers three of the most powerful words I've heard until that moment that were the catalyst that walks in and says, what if God is real? What if prayer works? And what if you have a different destiny?
That was television producer and author Mondo de la Vega. Mondo suffered abuse and witnessed violence in his childhood, which led him to a life on the streets of LA as a gangster. In his book, My Crazy Life, he shares his journey from gangster to grace. That's our conversation on this week's edition of Conversations from Studio 5. So from gangster to grace, your crazy life. How crazy was life for Mondo?
Oh, man. You talk about dodging death. You talk about shootings every day. You talk about stabbings. You talk about partying. You talk about the extreme. I think when you understand what survival looks like, survival has no pause moments. It's always going, always dodging, always moving, always on the edge of something happening. And that was my life.
So was that in Central America or was that in LA?
That's in LA. That's in LA. Central America was a little different, even though it was the primary foundation to what was about to happen in LA, because in the 1980s, there was a civil war that hit the Americas. And during that civil war, we were dealing with our internal war at home. Yet we were escaping from my father's wrath. And in the process of escaping, I think the survival mode began to take place because we moved 12 different places. There was moments, Efrem, that we were so poor that we would eat salt with lemon and tortillas. Yet I come from a wealthy family. 24 hours ago, everything was there. Wealth. My father was wealthy. My grandfather was wealthy. And in 24 hours, you go from losing everything. You know, so it was a shock because we didn't understand what was happening. Yet it was preparing me for my life that was awaiting for me in Los Angeles, California.
So your mom was on the run to keep you guys safe, essentially.
My father beat my mother. This is crazy, right? Because my father never beat us. My father never raised his voice at me, never even lashed out. My father was my hero. My father was everything. Yet one evening changed everything when my father grabbed the very broom that my mother used for years to clean her home and began to beat her, kick her. And I'm a 6-year-old little boy watching my hero beat my mother close to death, and I'm there paralyzed in fear, not knowing how to help my mother, and our world fell apart within hours. From that moment, my mother said, either I stay and he's gonna kill me, or I'm gonna kill him, or I leave and I gotta get my kids out of here. Well, my mother had to overcome that fear, and she left and run. My father had influence with the military. My father had influence with the cops. And so my mother knew that she had to hide. And in that hiding, she began to lose me because nobody was asking questions. I was looking at everybody, what's happening? Where's my father? And I told my father before I left at 6 years old, if I ever find you, I'm gonna kill you for what you did to my mother.
Wow.
I was very vocal. I communicated very well. I used to let people know what I thought as a 6-year-old. You know, so I had no problems communicating, but it did something in me. It killed me. It silenced me. I went from being able to communicate to now I remained silent because I didn't know how to deal with what was happening.
And what does that open the door to when you do get to LA? What does that?
You know, that opens the door to release the anger and the vengeance I had inside of me towards my father. I was already a prospect for the gangs. By the time I arrived to Los Angeles, I'm 8 years old. I'm being lured into the culture. A few years ago, I witnessed my father beat my mother with a broomstick. Now I'm witnessing a young man getting beat with a baseball bat and being disciplined, not understanding what the culture looked like. I didn't even understand the language, let alone what was around me. But yet, I felt fear, but a different type of fear. A fear of, I want to be like them. I don't want anybody to ever have decision making in my life. I want to be who those guys are. Whatever I got to do, I want to be a part of it. And so when I arrived to Los Angeles, the culture was different. Mexican Americans had already established the gang culture. In the 1990s, there was an explosion of 60,000 gang members. Today, that number is close to 1 million. It's gotten out of control. Back then, America was not ready for the explosion of gang members that dealt with being Latinos or blacks, and they're used to having Italian mobsters and the gangsters, and the only gangster everybody knew back then, other than, John Gotti, were the ones that we were watching on television. But yet nobody expected the Latino gangs and the black gangs to arise from the city of Los Angeles, because of guys like NWA became more voice. Tupac, Snoop Dogg, American Me, Boys in the Hood, Blood In and Blood Out. Those guys were telling our story. So as a 6-year-old, I wanted to be like them.
Wow.
Because I had that anger and that vengeance inside of me. I just didn't know how to deal with it. Yet, Efrem, I was dealing with depression, anxiety, devalue, because society was reminding us every single day that we're going to be dead by the time we hit 18 years old. Then the cops were telling us lock them up and throw the key away just by looking like a gangster, not even doing crimes. So the pressure was mounting, but yet we loved that pressure because it gave us that adrenaline. That's why the book is titled My Crazy Life. Mi vida loca is the 3 dots and the tattoos I have that I earned. And today everybody has tattoos for fun, but back then you earned them. But mi vida loca, my crazy life, were the destiny, the road that gang culture was leading me to. Yet at 8 years old, I was already willing to pay the price for it.
And you stay in how long?
I stayed all the way up to my teen years, all the way. By the time I'm 11 years old, I got jumped in. 8, 9, and 10, I was being lured in. They romanced me. They gave me this false identity, yet we didn't care because it was enough to get me through the day. It was enough love and enough to understand that if this is okay, then everything else is gonna be fine. By the time I'm 11, I write in my book about the baptism of the soul, because the soul is where you change. The core of who you are, the character, is what makes you or breaks you. By the time I'm 11, I'm getting jumped in by 6 guys. 6 guys that are older than me. 6 guys that are using every ounce of force. Yet when I showed up as a little angry, innocent kid. By the time I'm lifted out of the ground, I'm a fierce wolf, waiting to get even, waiting to get vengeance, waiting to retaliate at any moment that I could. Yet, from that moment on, it prepared me every single day to just get even more wilder. No respect for society, no respect for humanity. I was waiting for a chance to meet my father again. Because if I can get a hold of him, I will get even with him. That was my rage, that was my drive. But in order to get there, I was dodging bullets. I got stabbed twice in the middle of a lowrider. And what's so funny is that someone sent me a clip of where we were in LA when this lowrider, as a matter of fact, that was the last lowrider show that was ever permitted in Los Angeles till a week ago, when Gavin Newsom released the statement saying we're gonna reinstate the lowrider shows again. But the last lowrider show is where I got stabbed on my back and on my leg, once with a screwdriver and the other one with a knife. I didn't realize it until the adrenaline stopped and we're running from the cops, and my homeboy says, "Hey homie, you got stabbed, dog." Sometimes in life, you don't know what has hurt you until you stop long enough to understand you've been hurt.
Yeah.
And my life was getting out of control. This is the wild thing, right? I'm living in my mother's house, yet I'm hiding from her the fact that I've become a gangster. My sister lives in the same household, yet we live 2 separate lives. My mother was waiting to get a phone call to say, "Hey, your son is dead," because every other mother was getting that phone call. Life was getting tough. Life was getting to be a little bit exhausted, trying to be somebody that I was never created to be. But when they jump you in, they give you a nickname, and that nickname, you have to learn to live up to that. Now, living up to that model was exhausting.
Can imagine.
You know, just like a business, we had a motto: we live to die and die to live for the barrio, for the neighborhood. So we had. So we knew.
What opens the door to grace?
A chain of events that close to death events. I'm inside of a lowrider. Ice Cube is bumping, and we're getting ready to go do a hit. But before that, I'm waiting for a page because I'm getting ready to be promoted. Just like a business, a lot of people look at gangs and look, oh, a bunch of knuckleheads. It was a business. You talk about, I'm 12, 13, 14 years old, making a lot of money. Yet, I'm waiting for a promotion because I want my respect. I want to earn the respect of the neighborhood. And I'm getting ready to get this page, and all of a sudden there's a turmoil happening inside of this lowrider. And my older homeboy is an OG. He snatched the pager out of me. And I write about it because I wanted people to know that sometimes in life, you don't understand how God keeps you from death until you stop long enough to realize, wait a minute, that's how grace looks like. We get into this battle, and I write about it in my book. He snatched the pager off, walks to the payphone. When he walks to the payphone, all I hear is bullets ringing. And I look back and I realize that should have been me. My older homeboy grabs the lowrider, speeds away, and I look back and I said, we can't forget about the homeboy. He said, let the dead bury the dead, I say. And I knew, wait a minute, I thought we were down for one another. This ain't right. Somebody's coming after me. That hit was for me.
Yeah.
That in the streets we call that in 187. Yet my sister is praying for me at the same time.
Yeah.
We're living in the same household. She never condemned me. She never said, you're going to hell, you sinner. Never once. And I think that's why I have a lot of grace for people. I don't tell people they're going to go to hell. I don't tell people that's God's business. You don't know where people are in life. Yet my sister walks in and delivers 3 of the most powerful words I've heard until that moment that were the catalyst. That walks in and says, what if God is real? What if prayer works? And what if you have a different destiny? I had a reputation to take care of. I had retaliation I was working towards. And I had an ability to say, you know what? I want to die. I am tired of the pain. I'm tired of the exhaustion trying to keep up with this image. Yet death is catching up to me, but at the same time, life is chasing me for some reason. She was the only one that had the courage to walk into my world. And I write about it because most people forget that when God gives you a word, you're afraid to share it because of what people are going to think around you. But yet, when it's your own family, when it's your brother, my sister said, my brother ain't going to die. Not like this. And she walks in, delivers these words, and it began to torment me. She invited me to this church service, which, by the way, I didn't want to be seen at a church service. My reputation was on the line.
Yeah.
But yet my sister made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
I love that.
I always say, she made me an offer I couldn't refuse, you know.
Amen.
But she believed in what she felt. That's the powerful thing, is that when you believe what God gives you, aren't you supposed to put action to it, not just keep it? Yet, she loved me enough. She said, you know, Mondo, God spoke to me that before this year is over, God was going to save you. Save me from what? What are you talking about? I'm done. I said, I don't even want to do that. Yes, she said, why don't you come on Saturday night? There's a preacher that's going to be giving his testimony. Can you come? I said, Laura, I said, you don't understand. I can't be seen in the church. Come on, man, you got to do it. Just walk in, and if you don't like it, just leave.
I love it.
She had a tenacity, and still does.
Wow, that's beautiful. And now we sit. You in television and ministry and pastoring, God's opened that door. What would you say to the young boy if you could go back?
Oh, man. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on God. Don't worry about the people around you. I think we get caught up. I got caught up on my reputation. I think, Efrem, what was happening is that I was protecting the pain. It was a silent scream that no one was hearing. Yet I had built a false identity under the pretense of what my environment provided. Yet I saw a lot of my homeboys overdose on crack cocaine because they couldn't deal with the pain. And I was dealing with so much pain and anxiety and depression, and gang members. These are the same gang members that we see out on the streets and people are afraid to approach them. These are the same gang members that are trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this pain? Because in their homes, they're being abused. These tough gang members are being abused at home. Yet the only way they can deal with that is retaliation in the streets and burning the streets and looting and getting violent with one another. Because I always tell people this, if people knew the real you, would they still consider you their friend? Mm-hmm. If people knew the real you, would they still consider you their pastor? I'm talking about the deep, dark secrets that nobody knows about, that if people knew that, would they still consider you and hold you up to their image? Most likely not. No. Most people don't deal with that because we don't understand what happens when the lights go down. And if people found out that the pain I was dealing with, they will use it against me. Mm. We had a saying, the love and compassion were the weakness of a warrior. We knew that if they found that out, they would use it against us. Mm. I would tell that little boy, don't be afraid of what happens. My conversion to Christianity was not on that church service when the preacher said, hey, you want to come down and get saved and be prayed on and da-da-da. That was a great moment because it gave me the ability to understand that what I was looking for, I found that night, which was love and peace. Mm-hmm. Yet the next day, Efrem, what happened was that I showed up to a meeting where I needed to tell my homeboys what happened the night before. And they greeted me, not with a party this time, with a shotgun in my back, a pistol on my forehead, and a pistol on my chest, and said, where were you last night, homie? So why would I tell that little boy? Don't fear nobody. Mm-hmm. I never did. I was not afraid of dying. I was not afraid of going to prison. I was not afraid to getting overdosed. I was not afraid to, and that's not because I was tough. It was because I was scared. Mm-hmm. I was scared of being loved. I was scared to find hope, to feel happy, to be joyful, to be accepted for the fact that I'd been accepted for who I was. Mm. That was my fear. Yet today, I have my own show on the television network that is syndicated all over the world. I am executive vice president of a television network. I'm speaking all over the world. I'm hanging. Who does that? Only a crazy God will have a plan for your life.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Mondo de la Vega's book, My Crazy Life, is available wherever you purchase your reading material. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Conversations from Studio 5. We appreciate you making this your weekly destination for uplifting interviews in the world of lifestyle and entertainment with a strong focus on faith. Hope you'll come back and join us next week for a conversation with the cast and crew of the theater adaptation of C.S. Lewis's Prince Caspian. For more information on the show, please be sure to check out our Facebook page. You can also find us on Instagram simply by searching Studio 5. We'll see you next week right here on the podcast.